welcome. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated, Todd. I'm sorry, would you lead us in?
Sure, absolutely. Our gracious and kind Heavenly Father, Lord, we gather here today under your watchful eye. Lord, we ask that you'll watch over this meeting. We ask that everybody that was traveling to this meeting or anywhere else made it here safely. Lord, we ask that you'll be sure that everybody gets to their destination safely. We ask that you'll watch over this meeting tonight and bless and lead this governing body. In your name we pray, amen.
First on the agenda is the special presentation request. We're going to get an update from Mr. Rick Barton.
All right, Rick, come up to the mic.
All right.
Loud and proud, buddy.
What's happening, guys? So, as most of you know, I'm Ricky Barton on OAC. Last year, we put together a proposal for an organization to work on the recreational infrastructure of Tazewell, Buchanan County. We were granted around $189,000 to do that. Some of the projects are awesome, and some of them are not so awesome. So the one I want, something I want to talk to you guys about today in particular is this East River Mountain project. There's 1,000 acres of town and Tazewell property under the mountain that we were really having trouble getting to. There was Mr. Roger Brown owned the access road into that property, and there are a few other private property parcels in there we need to cross to turn that into something that is really, really special. Within that structure, there are two unbelievable view sheds. There's a place in there called Chimney Rock, and it's on the eastern side of East River Mountain. The eastern boundary that you guys own in there, which I think is like a 600-acre tract. On the other side is Dial Rock, which has always been this huge monumental landmark forever. Everybody knows Dial Rock. And you can access both of these from a single trailhead on your property. So I really wanted that, you know, along with the Appalachian Trail coming to town, working on access points. When I got into East River, I was absolutely blown away. There's a creek that comes through there with native trout. There's rock climbing potential in there that's unbelievable. It's awesome. So I worked really, 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 really hard, and finally we have access to that now.
Oh, great.
Roger Brown signed everybody that's a part of this project, every private property parcel in there is stoked about helping this community, and I hope we don't let them down.
Absolutely.
This is a term agreement. We went 3 years on this thing so we can get in and prove ourselves to these people and make sure that we're not just going to go in there and burn the mountain down. So there were a lot of people involved, and it took a lot of faith in you guys and faith in the county. So I'm really hoping that we can pull through with that. To tie to that, are a few other projects we're working on. Of course, we're working on the Appalachian Trail Initiative, making Tazewell an Appalachian Trail town. I think that designation process has been started. The acquisition was a 6-parcel spread from the YMCA to Burke's Garden. Now, this is the very first step of the Burke's to Breaks initiative, which was posted in the original proposal. So we have 3 of those parcels complete. We're waiting on 2 more. If we can get that done, we'll have a walking trail to the AT. Wow. We just started an idea, and we kind of stole it off the Blue Ridge Parkway, really. It's an adventure corridor. So it's a set of roads that would leave Bluefield, would come down 19460 all the way through Hansonville, go into Addington, going out by Galax and Independence, and you can see the ponies and the New River, and you end up back at Fancy Gap. So instead of a corridor that you're just riding around to look at cool mountains, you get on this corridor to have fun. It's all about ATVs, hiking, biking, art. We pull all those things into this corridor, and we have a destination. We created a destination basically out of an existing infrastructure. really, really big project that we're working on, a $10 million land donation. It could quite possibly be state park property. It's 5,500 acres. It's a linear system that leaves Tazewell County, goes into Russell and stops in Washington. So, guys, this is huge. This property is huge. There are so many things that you could do up there. The potential's like for trail running, rock climbing, wildlife viewing, on and on and on. So I'm really excited for you guys. And I'll ask you, is there anything else you want me to talk about? Because we're keeping the trails.
Let me add a little bit to it. I have had the opportunity to sit in a handful of those meetings with Rick Barton, and it's amazing. You can name somewhere out in the jungle, and he's been there. He's been by it, and it's amazing what he's trying to do for not just Tazewell County, but the entire region. But we do have 2 parcels out. If you go past, we turn to Burke's Garden, you make a left, go back in there. It's 2 big parcels in there. Like you said, they total right at about 1,000 acres. And we've talked about cruising that and looking at the value of timber in there. And I've always kind of held on to it as kind of an ace if we ever needed it. And, you know, Rick and his people are very much aware that we may come in a year or 2 or 5 or 6 years down the road and timber it. But the whole idea is to go in there and build a path that comes all the way back, you know, by Charlie Hart's or the Wilton property, come all the way back in the Dial Rock. And, you know, the connections that he's got, there's no question if you were ever run for state senate, you probably would be just fine. So it's amazing what he's done to set that up, and I wish I would have had a little more time. That's my excuse for not having a drawing I could show council of actually where that trail is proposed and where that property is at. So what I
all
can
that
do.
information, I could send you guys any file you can imagine. I have them all. Something else that's interesting about these 2 parcels is that they tie to the Dominion track. That's a monstrous track back there. And through Dominion, depending on where they end up putting their drop water facilities, after talking with Mr. De La Cruz, some of you guys are on IDA, the Bluestone Industrial Park ties to that track as well. So if we can come from here through Dominion and drop down into Bluestone, that makes it really, really cool. So we've been approved to design a downhill mountain bike trail in the Bluestone Industrial Park. That's a big deal. And if we could tie these 2 systems together, that would even be a bigger deal. Any questions?
Like the way you think?
Yeah, right on.
You know, Rick also understands that when it comes to legalities, you know, we'll have to get Brad involved in that somewhere along the line. There's a little bit of red tape that, you know, we're going to have to go through in order to make this reality. But what I would like to ask council tonight for is support and acknowledgement with the understanding of legal documents necessary for Rick and his team to move forward with planning, bring you something back in a month or 2, whenever it's possible, where he can show you a drawing of what he wants to do. That way Brad can get involved on the legal level. You know, we're surely not reinventing the wheel, so I'm sure Brad can work pretty efficiently. It's not the first time it's been done anywhere, but I'd like to have council support for Rick to proceed forward, and also for the town, when possible. I gotta get all the potholes fixed first. But go out there and help him with that parcel of land to access in there, whether it be some gravel or do a little backhoe work or whatever, in order to make that thing attractive.
Can we amend that so we won't wait for the potholes, because that never happened?
Yeah, that is true. But I'd like to have council support.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We really appreciate it.
Can we,
Yeah.
we've got a second, so any discussion?
I'm just curious, I love the downhill thing, with all the trails you're talking about, will it be single track as well?
Sure, in Bluestone. Okay, so I don't know, it's up to you guys what you want this thing to ultimately be. I see it as an opportunity for this community to connect intelligently with nature. Have a platform for nature-based education. Have a platform for these teachers to take their kids into a wild, wonderful place that's in their backyard. So, sure, there's bike trail potential in there. Bluefield City Parks is working on an overbuild right now of their existing infrastructure.
And that's about all we got around here if they shut down Round Mountain.
Right. Round Mountain, our side is closed, but they just fixed the road through the middle, but you have to go across the mountain. So I'm actually working on that because I have the bike shop in Burke's Garden, and I would love to get into Round Mountain. Yeah, so, yeah. But the rock climbing potential is something that's often overlooked, and those guys bring the best vibe with them. They're all super nature-based people. They're all very, very, like, into it. And they will definitely help you guys. Like, they come to city cleanups, they get involved with things you guys will be doing in the past. And I work with the Central Appalachian Climate Coalition on those things. So they build routes.
It's great, we got a motion.
If so, all in favor of the town moving forward, support, and having Rick move forward, and the town providing support when we can? All in favor? All opposed?
Thank you.
Motion
Yeah,
carried.
thank you guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Take your vitamins.
I have a question. What is our status on that Appalachian Trail community? Where are we in that process?
Rick, you want to go ahead while you're up and comment on that?
Okay, so I work with the Appalachian Trail Conservancy. There is a guy who is over this whole side of the AT, the southern end. His name's Andrew Downs. So Downs is a good friend of mine. And this wasn't really going to happen until we started thinking about proximity. And I really wanted to get a bus route over there, like in the Berks Garden, and get those AT hikers over here. So I'm also working on that initiative. But so Downs sent me the information to apply for status as an Appalachian Trail town. And I'm working with Men Hoops on that to make that happen. So it's in process. That's a big deal. There's an app called Gut Hook. All through hikers use it. I know it sounds kind of nasty, but all through hikers use it. And what that does is, if we ever get this route established, then they'll be there when the bus shows up to come here and spend their money. That's the main goal.
Well, I know that the Y was excited about it too,
Yeah.
and they have a bus.
Right. Yeah. Sean's ready to be over there right now.
There are a lot of those people, a lot of them.
Yeah.
I know Harrisonburg has really prospered from that, and they're the same distance from the trail.
Sure, and I live in Damascus half the time, and you know what happens over there. It's fantastic. And the bike scene also will bring a lot of money. You guys, when I first came to Tazewell County RDA, someone asked me, said, well, do you granola people spend any money? You hike up in the mountains, and you got a backpack on, like, where do you spend money? But, these mountain bikes are $7,000 a piece.
Have they ever paid for a good backpack?
So thank you guys so much. I appreciate your support.
Thank you.
Look forward to working with you in the future.
All right, up next, the approval of minutes from council meeting on October 8th.
Motion approved.
Second,
I've got one question. There was, should there be something in there from the combined meeting with the IDA? Should that affect?
Yeah, it was.
Even though we went into session? Okay. That's one question I had.
But,
Good question.
I have a second.
second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? So the minutes are approved. Next on the agenda is the approval of financial statements and financial report from October 2019.
So moved.
Get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed? So the financial statements approved. Next, will be a committee or conference update. Councilmember Brooks will give us an update on the Planning Commission.
Yeah, the majority of the discussion for the last meeting of the Planning Commission involved the building permit fee schedule for the town of Tazewell, which is going to be wonderful now that Chris is the king of building inspectors. It's going to allow the town to be self-sufficient in terms of the building approval, which will be a good cash flow benefit. And let's see, we also talked about certificates of occupancy and the third-party inspection policy of the town. So that's that.
Thank you. Any questions? Anyone? Okay, next, our unfinished business section. Set public hearing for ordinance for special exemption permit. Attorney Pyatt.
Folks may recall, I think about 2 months ago, the Planning Commission had recommended to the council a packet sort of information really when it came to amending the zoning ordinance, chapter 23. It goes a little bit just beyond special exceptions. State code chapter 22 is sort of the foundation for the chapter 23 of our town code for zoning. And as you may recall, I commented that we had a lot of inconsistencies in the way that our code had been drafted and sort of incorporated throughout the years to where you had a lot of inconsistencies both in definition and in term recognition for specifically special use permits. This all came out really to a head when Charlie Hart applied for a bed and breakfast special use permit, and we had conditional use permit definition or references, special use and special exception references, but no special exception definition within our own code. So the prompt of the Planning Commission was for me to prepare what you all saw a couple of months ago relative to sort of, I won't call it a wholesale overhaul of chapter 23, but specifically dealing with definitions and including and incorporating some missing definitions and inconsistencies within those definitions in Article 1. And then Articles 2 and 3 cleaned up those same inconsistencies. Article 7, which was to Chris, the certificates that Nancy briefly mentioned about getting the permits and certificates, the language again squared away with regard to special exception and special use. And then Article 9, the actual fee schedule itself. So what needs to happen now under what state code requires and your charter requires is a public hearing for both the Planning Commission and the council to basically present this to the general public for their consideration and comment in a public hearing setting, jointly with the Planning Commission and the council, and then proceeding to take those comments, amending what I propose if need be the case, and consider it then for adoption of an ordinance at the public hearing. And so what you need to do now is basically set a joint public hearing with the Planning Commission and council for December or whenever you so choose.
So it's for the Planning Commission and council?
Yes.
So Todd, would we vote on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can I get a motion all in favor of setting a joint public meeting with the Planning Commission and the town council to discuss the changes Attorney Hyatt has made to our code.
Chapter 23 zoning.
Our zoning code?
Do we need to pick the date?
Or pick a date and time, yes.
You want to do it before the council meeting?
Next council meeting?
Yeah, could we do it on the same night as council meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
certainly.
I don't know what date that is.
December 10th.
I would say 7:15, I'd be fine.
7:15? Okay, so time set for the next council meeting, December 10th at 7:15.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed?
I'll get with Robin and we'll get the notice.
Okay.
Notice for good advertisement.
So, looks like you get to go again with the real estate purchase agreement discussion.
Something no one is familiar with on council.
Not at all.
At the last IDA meeting, we actually, what I had prepared following, of course, all the, I guess the town hall type meetings with the Little League representatives, the IDA, a number of different drafts. What was presented to the IDA at their last meeting was draft actually number 7, of the various drafts of the real estate purchase agreement. The last draft that was presented to them for vote had a couple of changes that basically got rid of, in a different to what the council was seeing, got rid of the blanks that were left out for purposes of putting dates specifically. So we had an actual change for the actual date of the agreement for November the 4th. A specific recital paragraph, which I'll go ahead and read, which we added, which the IDA added. Purchaser understands and acknowledges that specific conditions precedent to closing of the proposed real estate transfer between the parties set forth here and below must occur and be documented and certified to the seller before a closing date certain will be determined, and that said closing will not occur unless such certifications are accepted by the seller. Adding again another layer of notice with regard to the certifications and conditions precedent. Got rid of, as I mentioned, the actual prior reference dates, simply because there was going, and the reference also to that there will have to be a public hearing for the purposes of transfer should all the conditions precedent be met by the seller, which were included in the document. It's a transfer of property that's actually held in public trust by the town because it has references to use of it as a park or other place of public recreation, so that would be require an advertisement and public hearing. That language is in here, and there's a specific reference. One more second. Relative to the closing date, which was on page 4, since we had a specific early closing date, I think for November, took it out and referenced the following language: following certification by the town of compliance with Virginia Code sections 15.2/2100 and 15.2/2101, which are the notice requirements for public hearing, and certification by the purchaser of the occurrence of the conditions precedent that set forth herein. Closing of the transaction between purchaser and seller can occur on a date to be selected upon agreement in writing amongst the parties, being the town, the IDA, and back to Dragon LLC. So, and the IDA unanimously voted to approve the draft as submitted with those changes.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Okay. So next is the EMS update from Manager Day.
Okay, I won't spend a whole lot of time here. I do want to let you know that Cindy's made a lot of changes within the building program, and when I spoke to council last month or the month before, we were well over $100,000 division between the two. Right now, we're at 51% in expenses, 45 in revenues, and the gap is at 64. So we're coming on and feel confident that we can at least bring it in to where we were last year, maybe better. Somebody remind me, I said something. Just an update. I'll keep pressing forward. There was also a rumor out there for a while. I have no idea how it was created, but we lost about a week of revenue somehow. We worked getting phone calls from Dogwood or the hospital, and come to find out somebody had started a rumor that we were shut down. So the hospital took us off, and so Dogwood took us off the transport desk. I don't know what happened there, but I feel confident that we're on a good track right now. We just have to keep moving forward. So we're about 50% on both sides right now.
Is there anything else from the Carillion folks?
Nothing yet.
Any questions? So next is the recreational access grant.
Okay, I had a conversation this morning with Jay Schott, and it was on several other issues that he's working on, several other initiatives that he's got in plans for Tazewell. And he reminded me that he still hadn't had a chance to look at the contract that was sent to him a couple of weeks ago. So I need a little thought from council how you want to proceed with this, but that recreational access grant, y'all have pretty much looked at and reviewed what it'll do for the ball fields and the access road around the backside. It'll make it 100% more attractive than what it is now. Get it out of the floodway. It'll also retain the road and the sidewalk. There's also a $100,000 50/50 match on top of that from VDOT that we've got. And all of those funds are budgeted right now. I can tell you after speaking with VDOT, they have changed the rules of that program because I questioned the idea if we were to move it for economic development purposes after the project was done, how would that settle with VDOT? So she called me back within a couple of days and said, you know what, there's nothing in there to stop you, but the perception of it is not good. So if you were to apply today for a recreational access grant, they have a restriction in there. So to answer VDOT's question, we can proceed forward, but I would never recommend that you take advantage of that loop that's in there. Our relationship with VDOT is phenomenal. They're working on the Hardy's Bridge right now. That should be done by the end of December. They're moving over to Piskey. We don't have a dime in that stuff. We did right at $9 million in 1 year, did $750,000 of paving 3 years ago. We did doing $500,000 this year of free funds. So the relationship with them is incredible.
How long can we delay using that grant?
I've got about 2 months.
That's it?
I've got about 2 months before something has to start.
We're kind of between rock and a hard place.
But here's what this is what I would, I think Jay's, I think he's very serious about moving forward with the project. And talking to me the other day, not this morning, but a week ago, he said, we need to start sometime looking at funding sources. And I said, I get it. That was the whole idea all along. But let's say that we proceed forward and do the recreational access grant. In a year, 6 months, whatever, 5 years, he steps up and wants to move forward with some economic development on the Little League field. I'd recommend you go back to VDOT and pay it back. Pay the funds back. It's kind of like we're doing paving, and next year I'm going to have $300,000 of money up front already spent.
Well, it doesn't mean also that, let's say in 5 years he decides he wants it, the price could be different based on the upgrades we've done to the property.
Sure. I just hate, it's a gamble. I mean, it's kind of like I don't know whether to go long or short on this deal here, so.
I've always said, if you got something in the hand, it's tough to let it go.
I don't,
And there is nothing that has to be used specifically for that
Yes.
location.
now I can give it back, and they would willingly take it back and give us all check marks, and I can reapply somewhere else.
For a different site.
And I'll tell you something else that hurts my feelings just a little bit. That project's been going on for over 3 years. That recreational access grant, and we have a ton of engineering work in that, a ton of cost in it, a lot. So,
That's all work to do with the 96 already.
yes, I mean, it's a bunch of tax dollars in that project. But the other side of it is that if Jay does move forward with the Little League field project, that's also, it exceeds what we've spent in engineering. So, there's never been a promise to move on. We've got an understanding that it's in that contract, but I don't know what's going on. I have no idea. I don't know what he's going to want to focus on and or how he's going to want to proceed at all. So, but I do know that if you do the project, you need to be prepared to potentially pay those funds back to VDOT. Are you required to? No. But will you lose in the end? Absolutely. They won't forget it.
They're not going to want to cooperate with you on any other.
I'm sorry.
They're not going to want to cooperate with
No.
you on anything else you do because
No.
they feel like they've been burned.
Right. Now, I've been told from way up that, I mean, Todd, it doesn't look good, it's not wrong.
I mean, it just makes sense.
Well, sure, yeah, absolutely.
I feel like we have to have a conversation with
Jay and find out how serious it is. Tell him we've got a window here.
And I've been trying to,
Because I don't know what's going on across the street there, and that may change is, so if we need 5 more years out of our Little League fields, then I don't think we have a choice.
yeah. Well, I will continue to work with Jay to actually push him side by side with him, not behind him, but walk with him through this project and hurry it up on down the
And he
road.
may, I'll tell you what, if it takes care of, and it will take care of a lot of the water issues that he's going to have to do, if he's going to put anything out there beyond the parking lot,
Sure.
it may, he's not going to get it done for the amount that we're going to get it done for.
Right.
And it could wind up saving him money.
It sure can.
Even if he comes in 2, 3, 4 years down the road, and we add that to the amount that we're selling it for, they're paying for, I mean, there's no way he can get it done for double what we're doing. And he probably wouldn't do it to the extent, so it wouldn't be as nice a piece of property.
The broad picture of this, even the flattest piece of land that we're evaluating, which is at the middle school, has got a change in elevation. Chris, what was it, 30-some foot? 35-foot change in elevation. Doesn't look like it. So when you're standing over there at that little yellow building that we're going to demo, that change in elevation because 300 foot, just enough area to build. It's still astronomical. Then you think about the lights and the grade and the retaining wall. I mean, so $300,000 is, maybe a drop in the bucket compared to the big picture. But I do hate to lose that opportunity when I don't know what tomorrow brings. So just bringing it up, not looking for any, listen, we got a crystal ball.
I think it needs to be on the agenda for next month for a vote, at the very least, because if you got 60 days, we're going to decide in 30.
So I'll bring
We need to have a conversation with Jay within 29.
I'll bring it up again, and like I said,
Has he seen the engineering of what we do for that piece of property?
No.
I'd like to have you show him that, because it could make his, and whomever decides they might want it down the road, it also increases the value of that property, which increases our tax revenue.
You still have to pay it back, unless he does.
Yeah, we go to say that. I had, if it's 250,000, I had that to say, all right, now you're gonna pay 550 because we're gonna give 250 back to VDOT.
All right, just an update, appreciate it.
Okay, next on the agenda is the approval of holiday time off.
Here, every year,
Hold on a second, we had the miscellaneous.
I didn't have anything under there.
I know, but I had something.
Oh,
The email that you sent out, I think it was November 6th, to the Little League president. I didn't see any correspondence back regarding everything we're doing in Lincolnshire. Have you heard anything?
no, not yet.
Can you just kind of give us a kind of summation of that email?
Yeah, when you look at the Little League handbook, and we've talked to Mr. Huff, we've talked to several of the Little League, I've talked to other people, and there's a variance in the conversation. So, there's a 4-foot to a 6-foot fence, et cetera, you can have this length backstop. You can have fields at 200 or 225. It's just so many variances. And the last thing I think that you need is your town manager making a decision that Little League is educated in. That's what they do, and that's what the fields are going to be used for. So that letter was written to the chair, Ms. Roberts, and what I offered was for them to pick it and implement it, and we pay the time. We pay for it. So they have the professionals there. They do it every day. They are Tazewell's largest organized sports group. Lots of members, lots of volunteers, I like to think. So I'm just offering to them for them to have what they want. They pick it, implement it, and we pay for it.
Based on necessity, not want.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'd love to have new lights out there. And by the way, with the lights on both fields, it does meet Mr. Huff's, so the lights are fine. There's also areas out there for about 4 batting cages that we intend to build. Should have built them already, matter of fact, for what's out there now. So that doesn't necessarily mean you have to build them, all 4 of them, for them to have games next year. So I'm just offering for them, take the prize and run with it, have two fields in addition to the 2 fields that are out here now. So
regardless of we move, we don't move, now we got 4 fields.
Right. I got 4 fields, that's exactly right. Multi-purpose field. So
I was running down in Critterville, and Chief, you may know this, that only one of their 2 little league fields down there in Richlands has lights. Right. So it can't be, I would assume that sanction doesn't require lights.
and that's the reason.
No, you don't have to have lights to play.
I mean, you'd love to have them so they can play.
And I think I told Todd also about this. I was president of Richlands for several years. I was on their board for about 15 years, and I've been the safety coordinator. I've been everything. And as long as the district administrator, Mr. Huff, approves of what you have, then it's good to go. It's nothing written in stone that says, like he said, it has to be so many feet here and that. As long as he approves your field for use, then you're good.
So the regional guy can supersede the rule book?
He is the rule book.
Okay.
I mean, the rule book will tell you what size field you should have, but not every place is going to have that. There's places where it only is 175 foot long. They require that you raise the fence up. So, I mean, there's different things that they do to accommodate.
See, and I don't need all that, nor does my staff. I mean, there's just too many options. So if I give it to Little League and say, here you go, man, dime's on us. We'll pay the ticket. You just fix it like it needs to be, and we'll take care of it. So that was my offer in that letter, but I wrote it a week or so ago. I haven't heard back yet. So. Pretty sweet offer. I'm pretty sure I'll hear back from us.
Yeah. And then have we moved Ben or anyone do we know, let's say they take you up on it. Have we been in touch with the county with regards to the fairgrounds for soccer or?
Well, if as long as we don't put in a permanent fence, that won't change. So if we put in permanent fencing, that's going to really kill future events of anything we ever do, I'd say, concerts, anything.
Cross country and everything.
Yeah.
Permanent fence is not a requirement.
It's not, but it is. If Mr. Huff's rule book, then it's a requirement. But it's not in the Little League rule book or the tournament rule book that I read. It's not a requirement.
So just, like I said, as soon as I hear back from her, I'm pretty sure their outfit will appreciate that offer.
About the fencing, because the kids, when they start, we have to put it up to one for permanent fencing.
Thank you.
Any other miscellaneous items? Okay, next, the approved holiday time off.
Yeah, each year, Councilman Brown asked me to put this on the agenda.
Actually, I think each year I say, why don't you just make it permanent recurring? I'm just kidding. Dave, whoever's watching this later doesn't know.
Our personnel policy's got half days in it for Christmas and Thanksgiving, and what we're asking for is full days. So personnel policy's got a half day November 27th and all day 28th and 29th. We're asking for all day on the 27th. Also on December 25th, we're off with a half a day on the 24th. And I'm requesting all day on the 24th.
24th and 25th of December?
Yes, sir.
I'll make the motion. Can I make a motion that we actually change that in the personnel policy?
Made that motion last year.
I think it passed. Can you look at the minutes?
It's never failed, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, let's just do it.
So
I make a motion that we approve it this year and we change the personnel policy to adapt to that ongoing.
I'll make that motion.
No, I mean, second. There we go.
And I think Dr. Catherine had a motion before.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Now I'm confused.
You need an eraser with you?
White out.
So, all in favor of making this a permanent change and making the change for this year?
Aye.
Any discussion? All opposed?
I would say it's nice to be able to give that, you have.
Well deserved.
But now we're giving it all the time. so.
Here's what I hope. I hope that on Christmas morning, I think it was, I don't see you guys out fixing water mains.
Hey, I think,
Because then it just kind of blows that whole thing up.
I'd like to see them get a raise for what all they've been doing and all the people to the Veterans Day parades. You know, everybody's talking highly about them.
Yeah, they do a good
Town
job.
crews doing a great job. And I think they should be awarded for a little raise.
I'll remind you that budget worked out.
All right.
Thank you very much, Ken.
Next is the resolution of support for the CPROP funding.
Okay, during the transfer of properties, that's a broad term between Sunset and, what is it, Point?
Correct.
Anyway, there were some funds that CPPD is utilizing for grant opportunities, and I think last quarter, we went through Richland and a couple other capitalizing projects. But one of the areas that I would like to apply for, they just need a resolution. Anytime you get free money, you got to do a resolution. But I'm asking for $154,000 to do the upgrade at Lincolnshire and to study 2 potential locations for new baseball fields that are in the contract that y'all reviewed tonight. So just need approval to apply for that and the resolution. That's all I need.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mark? For Lincolnshire.
This is approval to ask for free money.
Okay, free money. I'll go with
Say
that.
yes.
I'm not gonna say no tonight or not.
All in favor? All opposed? All right, so motion carries. Todd, do you need me to read the resolution?
Yeah, go ahead and read it before.
So, who made the motion? Was that Glenn? Who's second?
I did.
Okay, resolution of support. At a regular scheduled meeting of the Town Council of the Town of Tazewell held on November 12, 2019, on a motion by Councilmember Catron, seconded by Councilmember Davis, the following resolution was adopted by a vote of 6-0. Whereas the Town of Tazewell desires to submit an application for Cumberland Plateau Regional Opportunity Program, or CPROP, funding, and whereas these funds would be used to help relocate 2 Little League fields west of Main Street in Tazewell, Virginia, in order to open up the opportunity for Back of the Dragon to expand their business on the existing property of the fields, and whereas expansion of Back of the Dragon business means more jobs, opportunities, and better quality of life for the surrounding areas, which will also create a more attractive economic footprint for not only Tazewell, but Southwest Virginia. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town Council of the Town of Tazewell hereby supports this application for funding of $154,619.95 through the Cumberland Plateau Regional Opportunity Program. Be it further resolved that the Tazewell Town Council hereby grants authority for the town manager to execute project administration agreements for the proposed Cumberland Plateau Regional Opportunity Program funding, adopted this 12th day of November, 2019.
Good deal. You kind of voted in front of it, so I guess the attorney hadn't said anything, so I guess it's all right.
That's proper.
So next, Ms. Reagan, you're up with the approved budget amendments.
So at the last meeting, we talked about a bucket truck that, well, it died. It was no longer usable and we had to get a new one. So that truck wasn't in our budget. So I have found line items that we could take from in order to offset that overage. I have a cut in our vehicle maintenance equipment. We actually over budgeted in cigarette tax that we give to the YMCA. So there's those funds that we have budgeted, but we won't be using. I cut $3,000 from Treasury Department overtime, and I cut $5,169 from the Recreational Access Grant. Donnie had taken some equipment to an auction, and he was able to bring in $7,000 in that. So if you take off all of those budget amendments and that revenue, it will come to a zero balance. And it will pay for the truck.
Just need your vote approval to, and if you got a choice.
I make the motion.
Second.
Wasn't there stipulation on the YMCA, or not YMCA, but on the tax, what that cigarette tax was actually?
Yeah, let me tell you the way that was, and that's the communication of that, I apologize for it, but we raised cigarette tax, and we also raised our donation to the Y. Now, the collection of those funds started this past July. So we'll go all through the fiscal year, and then I'll write a letter at the end of the year telling them exactly how much they're getting. So it's based on, we're a year behind.
Right.
So
You
next,
sent them a check $7,000 this month, though, didn't you?
I can't remember how much it was.
Yes,
Well, that was for, what was it?
that was for the first quarter cigarette tax for,
This year, 19?
yes, that ended,
You're not as far behind as you thought.
Not for the last, not July, August, September, and October.
First,
It's based on last year's figures, but it's paid quarterly this year.
Based on last year.
based on.
Based on last year.
Not
And then you'll true up.
It wasn't for this July, August, September. It was of tax revenues, what I mean. So, does that make any sense?
It did.
So we have to bring it
Yeah, we
in.
did it first.
Okay, but I think, like, before you got here, when we implemented that tax, I thought all of it had to go to recreation.
It all went to the Y. When I started here, it was 3 cents a pack.
And every penny went to the water.
Everything went to the Y.
Okay.
Now we offset the general fund usually.
Okay.
And we made that change last year.
About a year or
Year and a
two
half.
after I started, yeah.
Okay.
We've raised it several
We
times.
did, that's right. We've raised it several times.
Because the cigarette tax is higher than that now, but we still give 3% to the Y and the
Right now, we
other,
do.
right.
It's starting July of 20,
Mm-hmm,
it'll be increased.
okay.
I think it went to 5.
To the Y.
We raised that.
Was it the
This
Right.
year.
Right. And it'll be based on the revenue we're collecting.
Okay.
And that, yeah.
Good. All right, so I already have a motion. I need a second to approve it.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I think Nancy already said.
Did you
Yeah,
second?
I did second,
Okay.
yeah.
My
But
bad.
When you said
it's okay.
discussion, that's why I said.
Okay. So all in favor of approving the budget amendments?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nice truck.
It is a really nice truck. Next, the meals tax discussion.
Okay, I brought this up a meeting or two back, but we have never charged food trucks at events, specifically on Main Street, a meals tax. And the idea was that when I first started here, you know, just trying to bring Tazewell alive. But being that there's businesses on Main Street that serve food and other amenities, it's kind of hard to continue to do that with respect to the operations, and obviously we want to do all we can for the businesses. So unless there's, I don't think you voted on that before. I don't see you having to vote on it now. It's already in your code book, but unless there's any objection to that, starting this upcoming festive season, we will be charging meals tax to food vendors.
Does that mean starting with the holiday market in December or starting in next year?
January. Anything that's already planned, like the holiday market, there's no need for an arranging that yet, I don't think, so January.
So if it's already in code, we really don't need to vote.
Yeah, I mean, it's already in the code book to do it anyway, we just never did to try to, and it kind of worked, I don't think it worked anyway.
Are you gonna let them know? You send a letter or something?
Well, whenever they're gonna do the application now, because you have to get the permit,
It'll have to be written somewhere.
yeah.
We're gonna send them to each vendor.
Surprise.
Here's your letter. Yeah, we'll send them to all the vendors that we have anyway.
I think they'll return.
Tazewell today's got heads up most of these events anyway, so communicating with them, they'll also be a good source of communication also.
So under new business, I have a miscellaneous section. If Councilmember Brown has anything to bring up. No? Okay. So any public comment? No one on the list? Well, before we break for executive session, I'd like to congratulate Councilmember Brooks for being elected to finish out this term.
Motion, make a motion
And-
for executive session.
Did I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So we're going to go to executive session to consult with legal pertaining to actual probable litigation, and we have a possible personnel appointment that we need to discuss
For a planning commission.
for planning.
That is correct.